If you've ever felt like you lost a game before the fight even started, this is why. Overwatch has developed a second name, Counterwatch. You pick Genji, and they instantly swap Winston. You go Pharah, and suddenly there are 3 hit scans staring at you. Every fight feels decided before you even press W. It feels like there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, Reinhardt players, I'm looking at you. But that's not exactly true. I'm going to show you how to counter every single tank hero in the game. So no matter what they pick, you already know exactly how to shut it down. And yes, at the end of the day, it is a skill issue. But the truth is, if you're constantly getting countered, you're being forced to play at a higher level than your rank. It's time to stop fighting uphill battles and control your game. Let's start with one of the most hated tanks in the game. D.Va has been around since day one, and somehow she's still one of the most flexible tanks in the entire game, who hasn't been outshone by some of the newer, flashier heroes like in the DPS department. She can dive, heal, eat abilities, and just generally be annoying in every single comp. Her biggest strength is defense matrix. If you're playing anything projectile based, she can literally delete your value. So how do you beat her? Her hard counters are beam heroes. Zarya and Symmetra absolutely farm D.Va because she cannot eat beam damage. You can also pressure her with melee focused heroes like Brig or Vendetta, since Matrix does nothing against that. Her soft counters are heroes that can match her tempo. Doomfist and Hazard can keep up with her mobility and pressure her backline faster than she can peel. Some extra heroes D.Va may struggle against are Moira, since you can only DM her orbs. However, she is free to do damage and heal without you stopping her. Reinhardt, well, technically you can't eat his damage, so if it becomes a 1v1, he's likely to win that. Venture can also become a problem for D.Va, since their most lethal combo is melee based, and they're also tricky to kill since they can just burrow away. Also Mei. Mei is basically a tax that every tank has to pay, due to her large HP pool. And her cucking ability, her wall. This makes her one of every tank's biggest op. Main takeaway, if D.Va cannot eat your damage, she becomes way less scary. Onto the tank with the perfect kit to feed while somehow getting value. Doomfist is all about disruption. If he's in your backline, your team is not playing the game. But here's the thing, Doomfist hates consistency. Or at least that's what every Doom in my game gives the impression of. Hard counters are anything that shuts down his engages. Sombra Hack, Cassidy Nade, On a Sleep, and the classic Roadhog hook. If you get stopped mid-engage, he explodes. Orisa is also a nightmare for him. Spear, Fortify, and just being unmovable makes his life miserable. Soft counters are brawl heroes that punish him for diving in. Reaper, Mei, Zarya, even Brig can make his engagements risky. And last but not least, one of his biggest counters, the player behind the screen. I'm just kidding. But seriously, how hard is it to not use every single one of your cooldowns to engage and just live? Doom is a hero that will capitalize on your mistakes. Well, not even yours, your teammates too. One person charges him and suddenly half the team is collateral damage. Do not chase Doom, punish him when he comes to you. And for the love of God, stop charging him. Now, our newest poke slop addition, Domina. She's a little tricky to summarize since she does well mid-range, however she has a strong ability to counter dive, which is when she chokeholds you into the floor. Oh wait, that's Emma Frost. She slams you into a wall. However, this is a cooldown, which can only really be used to counter one engagement. So if there's a full dive team, this is when she becomes unplayable. To beat her, you need to close the distance. Hard counters are dive tanks like Winston and D.Va who can force her into uncomfortable positions. Also flankers that disrupt her setup. This includes Tracer, Venture, Bull, Sombra, and Genji. Soft counters are shields and mitigation. Sigma and Rein can block a lot of her value if played properly, as well as flying heroes that make it hard for her to shoot, such as Pharah, Echo, and even Juno. The best way to counter poke in general is to speed up the game. However, to truly master dive, it takes a lot more than just being in VC. Time for my fellow Scottish Buzz Lightyear, Hazard. Hazard is chaos. High mobility, high pressure, and can delete squishies so fast you might be competing with your Doom from last game, playing Swan Simulator. But even though it might not feel like so, he is very punishable. His hard counters are crowd control and burst, Ana, Cassidy, and anything that stops his momentum, similarly to Doomfist. This is because they are both heroes that rely on their abilities to get eliminations or escape engagements. Reinhardt can technically do well against him. Yes, I know you hear mobile dive hero. Your first thought isn't probably Reinhardt. Hell, it's probably not in your top 10. But if you play disciplined and punish his engages, basically if you see him jump in, go for the pin. As well as Zarya. If you manage your bubbles correctly, you can eliminate the impact of his engagements by protecting whoever is getting dove. Soft counters are heroes that can match his mobility like Doom or Diva, which usually means it's a backline trade game. Hazard wants messy fights, you want controlled ones. Best way to control a dive is to predict it. If you see him preparing to leap like the frog he wishes he was, shoot him. It's that simple. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to drop a like and help us reach our goal of 5k subscribers. We also have a Discord where we plan on involving you guys in future content. With that said, now onto Junker Queen. Junker Queen is all about sustain and tempo. If she's in your face, hitting knives, landing axes, she does not die. Like genuinely, at that point, you're not fighting a tank, you're fighting a raid boss with road rage. However, there is a reason why she doesn't have the highest pick rate. She struggles at mid to far range. Hard counters are poke heroes such as Sigma, Ashe, Widow, and Emre. And I know you might not think Sigma's that good into her, but honestly, just save your rock for any time you see her running crazy at you, and you'll be fine. Special counters neglect her abilities. These would be Zarya, because of her bubbles, Kiriko Suzu, and even Ana is brutal for her. Anti completely destroys her sustain. Well, to be fair, she's similar to Mei in that aspect. She can make your tanking life hell. Soft counters are mobility heroes that can kite her out, such as Lucio, Tracer, even a Juno speed ring. However, if you give that to her, pray you have a Zarya or Orisa that can take her damage and win the sustain fight. Main takeaway, do not brawl her unless you know you win that matchup. Play your distance and force her to use cooldowns to get to you. It's either she shouts to engage, which you can kite, or she shouts to sustain, which means you've done well at applying pressure. And she will most likely have to disengage soon. On to my favorite, totally not AFK Samoan man, Mauga. In all honesty, Mauga is a definition of hold W and pray. He has insane damage, insane sustain, but unfortunately very predictable. I mean, it doesn't take much to master Mauga, and his mobility ranges across the X-axis. This might seem obvious, but just to clarify, his hard counters are anti-heal and mitigation. Ana again absolutely destroys him since it counters what allows him and other tanks like Queen to remain in the fight, his sustainability. And not to forget, Zenyatta is an extremely strong and effective Pokemon to pull out when facing Mauga. Discord Orb absolutely melts tanks, especially those that don't have mobility to quickly LOS the Discord off. Just wait for that 600-pound man to charge, then Discord him and make his life miserable. Sigma is also very strong into Mauga. You can absorb a lot of his damage, outvalue him by shielding him off from his supports or his damage. And not to mention Diva, of course her DM will also absorb his damage. And while you might not think it, Rein is also pretty strong into Mauga, as long as you save your shield for when he wants to lifesteal and aren't getting sat on cooldown. Soft counters are range heroes and high mobility heroes. If you're not in his effective range, he does nothing. Play further back and be sure to play cover so you don't accidentally get burnt to a crisp. To summarize, if Mauga cannot lifesteal, he falls over. If he runs in, punish him. If you hear that little haha, wait 3 seconds, then engage. On to another skillful hero, the bot, the myth, the horse, Orisa. Orisa is the immovable wall who you have to ask permission to play the game from. You're not killing her quickly, except that hard counters are not about killing Orisa. They're about ignoring her. Dive her backline. Winston, Diva, Tracer, make her so irrelevant that FE will consider upgrading to a newer model. Zarya can also do well since she can farm energy off of Orisa spam and dish out even more damage. But let's say Orisa still is a huge issue, and ignoring her doesn't seem to be the solution. Soft counters are sustained pressure comps. So if you're not too comfortable playing a dive hero, some high sustain alternatives are of course Zarya, Ram, if you aren't getting speared on cooldown, Sigma, Torb, Emre, Bap, and Kiriko. Just make sure to track her cooldowns so you know exactly when to engage. For example, if she just used Fortify or her spin, that's your green light to focus her down. What I'm trying to get across is basically stop shooting the horse, but if you're going to, be smart about it. Onto the hero that gets none of the love but might just have the best lore, Ramatra. Ramatra is 2 heroes in one. Poke form is annoying, Nemesis form is even more annoying, especially against shield tank. Hard counters are disengaged tools. Lucio speed, Tracer blink, a quick bull form out, pretty much anything that lets you kite Nemesis form. Mobility is key for heroes that lack it. Also, high burst during his cooldown windows. So you know the moments where you're shooting block for half the match and he still doesn't die, slap on a Discord orb and he'll melt away. Mix that in with a Bastion and suddenly he can't play the game. His soft counters include range and technically shields. Yes, I know Ram punches through shields. However, if you use a shield to isolate him from his team, block blocking off his supports, you'll notice he's a lot easier to kill. Even though Ram's poke form is semi-strong, it's nowhere near as lethal as his nemesis form, which can be easily countered if you manage your distance correctly. Main takeaway, respect nemesis form, punish everything else. Similar to Orisa, he becomes extremely vulnerable when he doesn't have his cooldowns. This is when you shoot him. Time for one of the most simple, yet hardest to truly master tanks in the game, Reinhardt. Reinhardt is best at zoning, swinging, and holding up his massive shield in your face, making you pretty much ineffective. If he gets close, you lose. If he does not, he loses. Hard counters are anything that stops him from closing distance. Bastion, Orisa, the classic Ram, and any other heroes that have high burst damage that can melt him and his shield, as well as high mobility heroes like Lucio, Tracer, and Bull. This is mainly because you're forcing Rein to do the impossible and chase these heroes, or turn around and protect his backline from said heroes. Also, let's not forget that he's also vertically challenged. Mobility-wise, soft counters are basically pointing out that he cannot hit what he cannot reach. Monkey jumps away, Bap jumps to a high ground, and our newest support addition, Jetpack Cat, can grant mobility now to any hero, so things aren't looking too great for our little hammer guy. Play chess, not checkers. Do not let him play the game he wants. Make him as useless as all the Mercy mains complains he is. Now it's time for the tank with the largest surface area and strongest gravitational pull, Roadhog. Roadhog's strength is all about the hooks. If he hits it, someone is almost guaranteed to die, and it's also on a 6-second cooldown, so he can pretty much just spam it. However, if he misses, he's just a little piggy that went to the market and got lost on the way home. So how do you counter him? It's very straightforward. Hard counters are anti-heal again. Ana completely shuts him down, and Discord makes his forever lasting breather feel a lot shorter than usual, where you can actually see his HP drop. Zarya and D.Va are strong tanks to go against him, since it's easier to peel against one of his strongest abilities, his hook. Just make sure you're not the one getting hooked on cooldown when you're playing D.Va. Similarly to Mauga, Hog is very immobile. Therefore, some of his soft counters are heroes that completely bypass him. This could be Lucio, Queen, and Tracer. However, not to get confused with dive heroes that rely on their cooldowns to engage like Doom and Bull, which Hog eats for breakfast. Maybe literally. Heroes that can beat him in a sustained battle, which would be Mauga, and if you time them well, Bap and Kiri immortalities can save you or your teammates from a very skillful hook. Counter Hog by playing around his hook cooldown, or play far enough that it's not a threat. Looking at you, Widow. Stopping him from getting healed, whether this is a nade or a shield to block him off from supports, or beat him at his own game, a sustained battle. On to one of the most stable tanks to pick. Sigma is one of the strongest tanks in the game right now. He is great at range, great at controlling the map, surviving sticky situations with his grasp, countering ults with it, and can shut down divers with his rock. Enough of the Sigma glaze, this is the best way to counter him. Hard counters are any dive hero. Winston, D.Va, Tracer, they can all overwhelm him, with speed to get in and out, making it hard for them to get punished while they completely eat up his backline, turning him into the senile old man, questioning if he even had one in the first place. Also, fast comps that do not let him set up. Speed is his enemy. Just like many poke comps, Lucio amps, Juno rings, diving Bull, or even a skillful Queen can ruin Sigma's day. Soft counters include off angles and pressure. Take as many angles as possible, direct his focus so he either has to shield you off or your team. Make him play the game on your terms, not the other way around. Main takeaway, overwhelm Sigma with fast-paced heroes and taking control of the map before he can. Time for the king of dive and one of the most honest heroes, Winston. Terms and conditions may apply. If your backline is weak, he farms. He can get in and out with pretty much no punishment, making King Kong the most optimal pick. However, there are a few Godzillas in the game. Hard counters are Reaper, Bastion, and anything that melts him up close. Since Winston's main playstyle is pretty much jump in, eliminate, jump out, you want to be able to survive that engagement. A strong backline, like my personal favorite Bap Zen, Kiriko, Lucio, and even Juno, can either survive or get away from him. Heroes that have strong peel like D.Va and Ram Slow help punish him by either melting him down with D.Va's quick speed or a slow to prevent his dives. Lucio boops, and of course the classic Ana sleep, prevent him from diving, allowing your backline to get to safety. A soft counter is playing in a spread position, which means you're diverting his attention, making him choose one person he should dive instead of an entire area, which is basically free ult charge for him. Pretty much punish the jump, play spread out, and peel whoever he dives. Now the hero that doesn't deserve a special introduction, Bull. Bull is annoying, that's his job. Go for the weak backline, isolated target, it really doesn't matter how far back you play, he'll get there first. The only safe area on the map are your your spawn doors. How do you counter this insufferable hamster? CC, shutting down what makes Bull strong, his abilities. Sombra, Ana, Cassidy, Roadhog, anything that will stun him or cancel out his abilities turns him from one of the most annoying heroes in the game to Illari's next lunch. Avoid playing immobile heroes like Sigma, Bap, Widow, unless you trust your backline to mess him up. The secret to surviving a Bull is strong peel. A Discord or sleep can save your backline by preventing his engagement. If he gets stopped, he's likely to die. D.Va does take the #1 spot for peeling as a tank as long as you ban Zarya. Soft counters are coordinated focus. You can either be the front line and peel, or look for a backline trade. What this means is if you don't want to swap to Cassidy and peel for your supports, Tracer can do a good job to either focus the enemy backline or scaring the Bull away. Because remember, Bull is strong, but it does leave his team without a front line. Main takeaway, do not ignore him, but do not chase him either. His goal is to distract, force cooldowns, play in a position where he's forced to use cooldowns to get to you, or where your team can come to your aid quickly and shut down his ability. Last but not least, Zarya. Zarya is a snowball hero. If she gets high charge, the fight is over. Her bubbles cleanse every negative effect in the game and counters one of the most oppressive tanks in the game, D.Va, since her DM is ineffective towards Zarya Beam. So how do you counter the hero that can walk on you for free? Well, walk is a key word here. Zarya, in all her size and glory, is a pretty slow hero. If you play out of her beam range, all she can do is tickle you with her alternative fire. Distance is key here. Maintain your range, either with smart positioning or speeding out, and for the love of God, do not shoot her bubble in most cases. Some of her hard counters are heroes that either do minimal damage, like Winston, who can hop on her and barely charge her, forcing her to waste bubbles and isolate her with his own, or the complete opposite, absolutely melt her bubbles. You see one being used, then shoot her down with high burst heroes like Bastion, Mauga, and Orisa. However, you must kill her after charging her. If you don't, you just gave her a free win. A soft counter is Reinhardt, since it's technically easier for him to not charge Zarya and zone her off with a shield. Bap's immortality can come in clutch if it's placed around corners and out of LOS of the enemy team when she hits that 5-man grab. Main takeaway, manage your distance, speed is your friend, and stop charging the Zarya. But if you're going to, make sure you can kill her. And that is every tank. If you actually apply this, your games will feel completely different because instead of reacting, you're already one step ahead. If this helped, drop a like, and if you want a DPS or support version, let me know. Feel free to drop any of your tips in the comments, and remember, it might be a skill issue, but now at least you know what to do about it.